I have a love-hate relationship with graphite.
Illustrations by Pete.
So I want to like graphite. I love the way that you can just blend the graphite so nicely. But I can never get it dark enough, and then when I do get it dark enough where I get the contrast I want, it shines like crazy, and I really can't stand that about graphite. Finally, after a while, it's been out for a while, I've wanted to pick them up. I picked these up. These are the Staedtler Mars Lumograph Black. So they added carbon in here so that it doesn't shine as much. And I'm going to show you how to test that. Everybody thinks you put them on white paper. You don't put them on white paper. I'll show you how to do this. But because there's carbon in there, the leads are a little bit softer. The cores, I mean. I know it's not lead. Just keep doing what you're doing. So sometimes if they drop, the core can break inside the shaft. And as you're sharpening, it'll just keep falling out. I know there's some lunatic watching this video saying, oh, you should sharpen it with a razor blade and sandpaper to get the tip and not use a sharpener. I don't have that kind of time. I don't want to do that. I don't like having pencil leads that have the tip sticking out this far. I just sharpen it with a sharpener. I usually use this Derwent Super Point. It works great. I like it. I use it. It'll sharpen pastel pencils without breaking them. So long as the core isn't already broken, you can sharpen anything with this. But when someone does drop them and they break, look at how, can you see how short some of these are? They're all brand new. I just sharpened them. And this 4B pencil, that's pathetic. But that's what it has to be, so that's what it is. So the set that I have here has HB, 2B, 4B, 6B, 7B, and 8B. That's more B's than I'll ever put in any hive that I use. So I will probably use the HB. I wish it had a B and then a 4B, or a B and then a 3B and then a 6B and then an 8B. That's what I would use. But it has an HB, which is fine. A 2B, I probably will not. I'll probably skip. I might skip that. I might go from HB to 4B and just be done with that. If you watch the 3-step drawing that I did, the whole thing was done with a 4B lead. You can get very light with 4B and very dark with 4B. You don't have to go through all of them different. But if you have a hard time controlling the pressure, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying you can't. You definitely can. Don't worry about that. So I like to shop at the small places, but the problem is there's nothing small around here. So I either have to go in, travel an hour and a half to 2 hours to find a smaller art store, sometimes 3 hours, or I have to just go to Michael's, or unless I want to go online and get them from Amazon, then I'll have to go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that. I had a coupon for Michael's. They sent me this little $5 voucher thing, which only brings everything down to almost where it is everywhere else, and then you get the 20% off plus that. I paid like $4 for these, so I was okay with that purchase. I've wanted them for a while. I don't spend a lot of money on graphite because I don't like it a lot. I mean, I like it. I just don't use it a lot because of how messy it is. That really bothers me. But if you put some watercolor over it, it tends to seal it a little bit down, and then you could always cold wax over the whole thing and it'll seal it in there. Or you would then take glassine sheet and tape it to the top of the page so it folds over and then it doesn't make a mess on the other page. So, and these being carbon, they'll probably smear a lot more than any other graphite pencil, but that's okay. I wanted to try these. I want to see how dark I can get without really getting that shine back. So I'm gonna do that. I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, so for this, I'm going to use black paper. I'm using the Canson Mitance pastel paper, the back side, not the front side with all the bumps on it. The back side's pretty smooth. That's what I'm going to use. I put some jelly roll, white jelly roll on this page here. I'm going to use some of these here. These are regular graphite pencils to compare them to. I do not have a 7B for some reason. I checked everywhere. I can't find a 7B normal graphite anywhere. But there's some of the regular Mars Lumograph. There's the Tombow, and there's a Derwent there. So, I mean, graphite's graphite. So we'll just see most of the time. The top brands is just graphite. There's not one that's better, unless you prefer one. That's all. But even, okay, right off the bat here, the HB, look how shiny that is. And it's just, this is the thing with graphite. You can go as dark as you want, but as soon as it hits the light, it's going to get brighter. And if you'll notice that when I get to the end of this, the HB to 8B is, of the regular graphite, just gets brighter and brighter and brighter. Not darker and darker. It's just, that's how it is with graphite. That's what happens. So now when I do the Mars Lumograph Black, you'll see how dark it gets. And yes, that HB is lighter, and then they progressively get darker, where it's the complete opposite with regular graphite. And then you can see, as I start to tilt the page at the end here, how much shine there is. And with the Mars Lumograph Black, as you get darker and darker, it actually does get darker and darker. That's amazing. That's a wonderful thing. And that's why I'm using these. That's why I think maybe I could get over the irritation that I have with pencil and start to use these a little bit more. Okay, now for this drawing, I actually did use all of the value ranges. I started with the HB and ended with the 8B, so that I would use everything that's in the set, and you can see how that's done. Now, I could have probably done this with only 2 pencils. If they would have included a B, I would have started there and probably kept the B and the 8B and been done with it. But I probably could have done this all with maybe, I'd say, even if I was stretching it a little bit, even if I was just trying to do a little bit more than that or not pay attention as much, I'd probably be able to use the HB and the 4B and the 8B, and that would be just fine. But I ended up using all of them, just went back through, and that way the HB was definitely the lightest. I put pretty much the same pressure on all of them until I get to the end, and then I spent the most time with that 8B. And here's the big thing with graphite. And this is my opinion with all art. So I know I've already said that other people have done nicer things than anything I can do, and they haven't used this rule. But this is what I do. I always push things further. When I think I'm done, I don't stop. When I think I'm done, I keep going further and increasing the contrast, making the darks darker and trying to preserve the lights lighter so that they stay the highlights. That's what I do. So, and the other thing I want to mention here, I am doing this so messy. Look how messy everything is with those first couple layers. I think the only thing that I am paying attention to is the direction of the shading, just so I can keep a flow about the whole piece. But really, I'm not paying attention to how even it is or anything like that. It looks like crap in the beginning. I'm just trying to get the basic shapes felt out kind of in the piece and how I want to do things. I started with a basic shape. I added some extra little things here and there, and then I just kept adding and adding until I was happy with it. And again, when I thought I was done, I just went further and darkened the darker spots more. So I spent probably more time with the 8B pencil than any other pencil that I was drawing with. Just kept going back and making things darker and darker. I still have to compare the 8B and the original Mars Lumograph had the 7B and the 8B. They had carbon in them. But then they stopped, and then now they're just regular graphite pencils in the Mars Lumograph, and you have to get the Mars Lumograph Black to get the carbon versions of them. But it used to be that way. I have not compared the old 8 and 7B to the new 8 and 7B. They might be completely different pencils. I don't even know. There might be a different formula in their ratio with graphite to clay to carbon. I don't know how that works out, but I used to use that pencil more than anything. Even more, there's the Kimberly 9XXB, I think it is. It's the General's pencil. And that one was really dark too, but I still think I preferred the Mars Lumograph 8B over that pencil. I used to use that thing all the time. It feels good in the hand, and I knew the result I was going to get with it. Whereas the Kimberly pencil, sometimes it would feel a little scratchy, almost a little bit more like a charcoal pencil. Even though I know the carbon is the carbon, it makes it feel that way. It's not as smooth as graphite. That's just a rule. So if you're getting these, you expect them to be as smooth as graphite. They're almost. They really are. I want to say that they are almost as smooth as regular graphite. But you can feel a little bit more catching on the paper. Just a little bit. Especially with the darker values. They're still soft though. It's a weird thing here. This is a weird... It doesn't feel like you're drawing with actual charcoal or with actual carbon pencils. It feels like you're using graphite just with a little tiny bit more drag on it. That's all. But it's still very smooth when you compare it to pencils in general. It's still very smooth. So I already had this recorded. This happens to me continuously. I already had this recorded, and then my buddy Marty over at Owings Art and that channel, he decided he was going to do the Faber-Castell matte pencils, and I have not had a chance to try them yet. I want to get those and figure out how they do compared to these, because honestly, I was more excited about these because I'm more excited about the Mars Lumograph pencils, and I used them more than I did. I was not a fan of the Faber-Castell line in general. I know it sounds weird. It's a personal thing. The green pencil just wasn't my thing. It didn't make me want to pick it up and draw with it. And that's probably why that Kimberly General's pencil, that pencil was a green pencil also, and I just never picked it up. It's just not... It was a dark green, like a forest green. I just never picked it up. I went to the Mars Lumograph that had the blue and black, and that's what I liked. I liked holding it and using it. And these here as well, these black pencils, I like using them. They feel nice, and it just aesthetically, in my own brain, because I'm damaged, I decided that I like to draw with these pencils because of the color that they are. But they are good. They're very good quality. They're excellent quality. I've never had, in the Mars Lumograph, I've never had where you get those hard little bits of clay that just come out on the page. They scratch the page or anything like that. I've never had that happen with anything from Staedtler. But I will say that my first set of drawing pencils, when I first got back into drawing, I bought a set of pencils. They were the Artist Loft from Michaels, I guess, and they're just the store brand, and they are the cheapest, crappiest graphite pencils I've ever had. Every one of them had bits of clay that would come out while you're trying to draw away, and all of a sudden it scratches the paper. It's terrible. The only one that didn't do that was their B pencil. Now, their B pencil was my favorite pencil I've ever used that was graphite. It was the most amazing I would rather, if I had that pencil today, I went looking for it the other day. I went through everything I owned looking for that pencil, because that was my absolute favorite pencil to use. The B pencil was darker than the 4B because of, ridiculous quality issues that cheap pencil makers have. But that pencil was my favorite. It was smooth. It was dark. It was graphite, so it shined just like any other graphite pencil. But it was just my favorite pencil to use, and I've never found another pencil that was that smooth. I've never used another pencil that smooth. It's amazing. But anyway, that could also be my memory playing tricks on me, because at the time it was the best pencil I owned, and I could just be remembering wrong, because I know people don't want to think so, but your memory sucks. It actually plays tricks on you. You don't remember things accurately sometimes because your brain fills in things that are not true, and then you swear, yes, I know that I put this right here and now it's not there. Where could it possibly, someone must have come in and taken it? No, your memory told you you put it there because that's where you usually put it, and that's where you remembered putting it, but really you put it over here. Your memory sucks that way. Anyway, the point is, I really enjoyed that pencil, but out of all the pencils I have used so far, these are my top pick. That I love that there's no shine on them. It really didn't make more mess like I thought it would than a regular graphite pencil. It didn't. I mean, I left my hand above the page for most of it, so I wasn't dragging my hand on the page. But really, it was a lot cleaner than I thought they would be. For carbon, it's usually a disaster. But nothing was coming off on the page. No extra bits and things like that were flying off on the page like you'd think so with charcoal pencils or anything like that. They were cleaner. So I think I could use these. And I just have to remember to either seal it or put down some kind of that glassine sheet that you put down over the top so that it doesn't smear to any of the other pages. But in this spiral book, I don't do that anyway. I don't use both sides of the page. So if it smears a little bit, it's okay. But I don't want it to smear on the actual page any, because I'm drawing it the way that I want it. So if I allow it to smear and things, that's going to just deteriorate the actual drawing that I just did. So I don't want that. But overall, I really did enjoy these. They're quite good. I highly recommend them. I think they're a wonderful pencil. Now I know I said that I got mine from Michael's with the coupon. You don't need to do that. Don't stress yourself out. I've got the affiliate links down below. You can buy them straight from there. And they're really not that expensive, to be honest. And all kidding aside, they're not expensive pencils. I like graphite because you can create so much texture with graphite because it blends with itself so wonderfully. It's not like anything else. It's not like any other medium. Even pastel pencils, you've got to do some blending because they're all different colors. This is just the same color, just darker, lighter and darker. That's it. So it blends with itself so nicely. You get that night. But I am not a graphite artist person. When I see someone who has done some art in graphite, it usually doesn't interest me, and that is entirely hypocritical because I really enjoy this piece here. I think it was great and I loved it. But really, it's not my thing. I don't like gray, different shades of gray. I just like black and white. I like the high contrast. But in this one, because of the way that these pencils work, I was able to get the darks that I really wanted to get. Some spots, you might not see it in the video because the video lightens some of the shadows, but really when I'm looking at this in real life, it looks darker. It looks the way that I want it to look. I get those really dark darks in here. So all in all, I'm very happy with this. So I am going to put, if you wanted to see those other pencils, I'll put a link down below of Marty's video that he did, and you can go over there and check those out. And he does things differently, but he does a classic art, and he's very good at it. And he does the portraits, and he does the trees and things like that. Even his sketches. Tell you what, his sketches are my favorite things to look at. When I look at art from just about anyone, I love to look at his sketching. It gives me so many ideas. It makes me inspired to create something, and that's really the sign of a good artist. If they inspire you, that's where it is. Now, as I was drawing this, it kept reminding me of something, and I couldn't figure out where did this image come from? Why did I develop this particular image? Because I wasn't looking at anything at the time. And I'll tell you what, I found what the image was that was in my head. And it's almost like an abstract drawing of this thing. This was my favorite movie, or one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I was very into this. I was really hoping they would develop like a universe around this kind of thing and say, okay, it doesn't have to be a part 2 or sequel or anything like that, but just that this was also in the same universe and had the same rules and just have another story. Because really, it was one of my favorite things to watch as a kid. I loved this movie. Yeah, I know most kids, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're scared of this, but to me, this was entertainment and I enjoyed it. And so I'm going to put that picture up here right next to this finished one here. Okay, so thumb up the video if you've ever bought just a cheap piece of garbage art supply that ended up blowing your mind and became one of your favorite art supplies to use for everything because it was just so awesome. Even though most things from that company suck, but you found the one thing, you found that diamond in the rough that just made your day and you loved it. And even if the company couldn't reproduce it the next time you bought it, but you found that one, and that was worth it right there. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go, and I'll see you in the next one.